a try in that time, and then scored a really good try, the Lachlan Coote try. It was a really good setup, that try, I thought. Basically, like all the Saints playmakers, Coote, Dodd, and Wellesby, all ended up on the same side of the field, which was just about the short side, but they kind of moved into the position late and quickly and overloaded the defence. And then Percival and Coote executed, and it was a really good play, and I thought that was a really good try. It was Holbrook style St Helens that turned up for that try, and then it got a bit not as exciting because Saints sort of took control, didn't they, for a large part of the game. I thought Sione Matautia was good with his 2 tries, but in general he was good as well. Coote was really good for St Helens as well until around about 74.5 minutes when Alex Walmsley made a break through a speculative offload that Coote couldn't take in, and then from there he had the high kick that he couldn't take that contributed towards the field position as well in that last period, and yeah, the magic happened, Sarah.
You see, yeah, I mean, I can't remember as long back as the first 20 minutes of that game because I think it was about 3 weeks ago. Before we had even got to the injury near the end, before we'd got to Golden Point, I was already worrying about what time our match was going to kick off. And it went on for practically 2 hours before the injury. You know, it was ridiculous. I was so bored of it stopping and starting every 2 minutes because, 3 physios had to come on the pitch, and that was in addition to Saints extra water carriers that they always have on anyway.
I can't say out about that because Sean O'Loughlin spent 78 of 80 minutes on the field, I felt like.
So, yeah, I was utterly bored. And just hoping it'd finish soon. And then the next thing I know, Catalans are only 1 score behind. I thought Saints were far further in front than that. And yeah, and you wouldn't have been able to see this, but I think it was when it came to the start of Golden Point and the Catalans players were walking towards us, and Sam Tompkins is sort of gesturing to the crowd in a sort of like everyone together, Catalans pointing at his badge, which was quite amusing considering, everyone hates him really. But yeah, for those few minutes we quite liked him.
It did all of a sudden turn into the whole stadium being on Catalan's side apart from the St Helens fans because of how exciting it was, what it meant. I mean, generally in the game, I didn't feel like 30-12 was a necessarily a fair reflection. I thought when they scored that late try, that felt like a consolation, but it made it 30-18. That felt a bit of a fairer reflection because I thought players like Busquets and Dudson were really strong for Catalans, and I thought they stood up really quite well to Walmsley for the most part in the game. Castellano had a couple of moments too, obviously more of that at the end. And Lange, over the course of the game, was tough to handle, but particularly in that last 5 minutes and the first 5 minutes of extra time as well, he became almost like, he basically kept carrying defenders. He didn't make any breaks, he just carried the defenders like in the tackle for 10-20 yards at a time, until he was overhandled by Passy. But yeah, the other thing I think that needs to be called out that changed the sort of game for me was Catalans, I thought too late, but decided to put young Arthur Morg into the middle of the field. It'd come on at half time on the wing. Yeah. And then they finally decided to put him in the centre of the field. They put Varhey and Lange on the same edge, and I guess put Whitley or McMeekin in the centre on the other edge. And he started to have a little bit of an influence, even just speeding things up a little bit, but it still felt like they were a ways off. But then that try that he set up for Gil Dudson, where Catalans had started throwing it left, making them loads of meters with Lange, then throwing it right, and making the meters with Davies. But then this time Morg caught it on the fly, did his little pirouette, didn't he? Made a break. He's always looking around for the options whenever he makes these breaks, though, but it doesn't seem to stop him, and it doesn't seem to stop him dodging tacklers. And of course, he had the smarts to realise he wasn't held and pop the ball up. And then what did we have left then? A minute and a half, and we're thinking, could it happen?
Yeah.
Could it be? And they made another break, and they made it all the way up the field again. And the Drinkwater put in a perfect kick. I think the Saints defenders were too busy trying to not let McMeekin catch the ball that they hadn't realised that the ball was actually behind all that, and Cassiano just pouched it and put it down. And the reaction from the Saints players was understandable why they were so angry with themselves, but the reaction from the stadium was brilliant.
Yeah. Did you also hear the thing about the fact that Steve McNamara actually missed it?
Yeah, he went for a piss.
He'd gone to the toilet with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And came back, and it was Golden Point.
He came back. No, I think he came back. I think he said he came back out after Dudson had scored or something. But yeah, that was a funny story, wasn't it?
Yeah. I know Rob Fatboy came to sit with us for the last few minutes of the game and Golden Point, because his mates had decided that they'd had enough and left, and then he messaged them and said, "Are you still here?" And they were like, "No." Yeah. So
I can understand why people might have left after that. The try for Knowles, which should have been stopped. Let's face it, it was another example of poor goal line defence that we saw this weekend. Should have been stopped. But I can understand why people then sort of were thinking, because the game had stretched a little bit at that point. It went on to be a lot longer after the serious Lange injury and the extra time and stuff. But stretched a little bit already at that point. So people were probably thinking, I'll get some food. Game's probably over. Get some food. Get back in time to watch the last game. What have you? But no, that absolutely class. And then I thought Catalans had blown it in extra time when Maloney threw that forward pass.
Yeah.
In fact, what's his face? Morg had thrown one from dummy off right at the end of the first period when they were set up to score, weren't they? They were about 25 out from the sticks. There was one more set up play, and then it would have been the drop goal right on the hooter at the end of the first period. And Morg threw a forward pass, and then the sin bin and the injury happened, and it sort of felt like Catalans were doing their best to give it away. But then they scored that scratchy 42-metre drop goal to clinch it, and the crowd went wild again.
Yeah.
I realised as well that I'd been there to see Catalans win both of their trophies, so now I need to go to the grand final if they get there, regardless, and hope it's not against Wigan, and watch them win the third trophy.
Yeah. What are you going to do if it is against Wigan?
I'll watch them play in their first grand final and lose.
I just didn't know if you were going to watch them win their trophy still.
It probably would be, wouldn't it? Let's face it. But Wigan being in that final is a long shot for me at the moment. But there you go. Anything else on that game and more on that finish?
I don't think so. It was just, quite special, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's worth reliving. Worth reliving, gang. Okay, let's get on to your game then, Sarah. The last game of day one.
Yeah, so it finished Leeds 25, Hull FC 24 after Golden Point. At half-time, Hull were leading 16-14, refereed by Robert Hicks. In terms of stats, again, we had incomplete team stats. But for individually, Leeds had Ash Hanley with 5 tackle busts and 199 metres, Matt Pryor with 152 metres, Reece Martin with 51 tackles, 1 try and 10 marker tackles and 122 metres, Luke Briscoe with 135 metres, and for Hull, Danny Houghton 1 try, 63 tackles, 12 marker tackles, Chris Satai with 5 tackle busts and 202 metres. That's not bad for a bloke still suffering with COVID. Jordan Johnston, 52 tackles, 14 of which marker tackles, and Beretta Farema with 168 metres.
First fan view came in from Pop the Viking. He said, another great game on day one. Hull unlucky in normal time not to win it. Leeds had so many chances to take the winning golden point. You would have thought Hull would take the win, but a mistake cost Hull and Leeds won.
Dr. Bob Phillips said, never in doubt, asterisk. Applies on about 30 seconds after the drop goal went over and I realised it wouldn't get pulled back and struck off.
Always in our shadow said, all Leeds are we. Well, fucking Thaler and Hicks are. How the fuck could he overturn the try call? Thaler loves overturning a try call. Can Hicks explain why offside doesn't count for Leeds, or are they Olympic sprinters, the speed they got at the FC kickers? I will challenge that second point because what's his face? The young centre, Harry Newman, came from marker to shut down that kick. He wasn't offside, and he was the fastest player on the day on that special new fancy stats they had. So, again, supports
but
that.
There were 4 other players who were massively offside that were also pressuring the kicker.
Were there? I thought there was only 2 players pressuring the kicker, and Harry Newman was about 5 yards in front of the others. But yeah.
No, I've seen stills of it. EFC 78JU said, I only watched some of the first half as I tuned into ITV to watch Soccer Aid at the Etihad Stadium, which the World 11 won 3-0.
Don't care. Well done raising money for charity, but
performance from both teams as Leeds came back from losing to draw the second half level and send it to golden point, which only took 2 halves. Leeds Rhinos were so bad with them 2 drop goal attempts, went for 20 metres restart for FC until Leeming got it.
There was some of the worst drop goal attempts you've ever seen, wasn't there? Leeming's one still makes me laugh now. we were right behind it as you're sort of looking, and the play opened up, and I sort of thought, hasn't he got a chance to pass it out wide? But it was last tackle, and it was horrific.
Yeah. I'd question how many halves you normally get, but there we go.
No, it means 2 halves of golden point, I think. I don't know.
But you always get 2 halves.
Do you know what? I didn't even realise there was 2 halves of golden point. I'd never been at a golden point game that went past the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had one this year that went all the way, so you knew.
Yeah.
Paige said, massive improvement from the boys considering how we played the last few weeks. All you want is for them to give 100%, and they did. Few stupid mistakes and poor discipline cost us. Fabulous weekend with the SLP gang. Nice to finally meet most of you. Roll on the next one.
Joshua's granddad said, another questionable Thaler call, but end of the day, FC forgot to play enough rugby and reverted to one-man drives trying to cling on to a lead. Never looked like getting into position for Snead to get a chance when the offside line wasn't in his face. So different at the other end when Leeds had a million chances.
Fatboy Rob said, got to admit, my memory of this one is a bit hazy due to several 2-pinters. I do remember Hicks being as dog shit as always, a perfectly good Hull FC try being disallowed by the video ref, another being ruled out for offside which looks onside, and a number of drop goal attempts that put the corner flag more at risk than the fans behind the sticks. Houghton has gone. Basically, Leeds cheated. Hashtag we all hate Leeds. Hashtag Pages X.
Leighton Reiner said, enjoyable game, and I thought Dwyer's energy made the difference. I thought your prediction of Snead and Connor's kicking game would be the difference. Good job. Snead only had half a chance. I reckon we could have drop kicked 2 of the... I could have drop kicked 2 of theirs from us, and I'm second row. It was a great watch, and even the wife and kids were shouting at the end. Shame I couldn't get up there this year, but enjoyed it on the box.
I was pretty drunk for this game as well. I rewatched the Golden Point, the last sort of couple of minutes of the game in the Golden Point earlier today, because I thought I need to kind of remember the order of events and sequences around that time and how bad also the Leeds drop goals were. I'd forgotten about the one that hit the crossbar.
Yeah.
Oh dear. What did you make of it though? Obviously disappointed with the result.
Massively disappointed with the result. I think um,